Hey guys, welcome to the Color Me Mike podcast. So just a quick disclaimer up here at the top. Anything said during this podcast only reflects on me and or the guest. Sonity has nothing to do at all with anything that's being said here. Sonity is just a cool boba milk tea shop in Fremont, California that is kind enough to let us record the podcast here at their shop and kind enough to hook us up with some boba milk tea drinks. So everybody just chill and enjoy the episode. You generally want it about like a fist
about
away
here.
from you.
Yeah, typically like even when you're just performing.
Yeah. You know what's funny is there's this one guy, I'm not gonna name him, but he was holding the mic like sideways like this, and he was like cupping it and talking and just like screaming until I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And I asked him, dude, why the hell do you hold the mic like that? And he said that because he does a lot of karaoke and he just found like this position. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Like, because I've done that in karaoke where I would like create a cone.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those karaoke mics are just, they're
Well,
fucked
you don't
up.
know.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you get people that like to put it on their chin and spit all over the mic,
Yeah,
and then it smells like
yeah.
somebody took a shit on it.
Yeah, so he says he was doing his act of like this, just like screaming into the
Yeah.
mic. And I had to finally tell him, like, can I just give you like one piece of advice? Like, I know I shouldn't be giving any advice, but it's like, dude, you got to stop screaming into that mic and just because like you're getting in your own way. Like, we can't even hear what you're saying because not only you're holding the mic that way, but you're literally screaming into it. You're blowing out the speakers. We can't hear what you're saying. It's like,
Yeah, that's just like, that's experience and wherewithal. So
yeah, but thanks for coming early. I know I said in the podcast.
yeah, it's all good. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that if I got lost anywhere, that I had time to show up to where I'm supposed to be.
No, you're professional. There you
Yeah,
go.
man,
That's why you get booked. It's like Tony was saying, the professionalism counts for a lot. Would you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. Like, I mean, if you're not being at least like decent, nobody's going to want to book you. It's like you get those people that, it's like, man, that guy's an asshole, but he's really funny. You should book him. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where you're not really, if you're not good or you don't do well often, like nobody's going to want to book you because you're also an asshole.
What qualifies as decent? What would be decent for you? See it, Tony.
Take it easy. So being a decent person, like, at least
that's a tall order, dude.
At least acknowledging that somebody acknowledges that you exist when they say hi. It's like you get some people where you walk in and then you're just like, okay, they don't want to talk. That's fine. It's like, it's just a little weird because comedy has like some of the most polarizing characters in it. So it's like on stage they're one way, and then off stage they're another way.
Oh yeah, there are like factions and cliques, and people get territorial.
They do. Yeah. They really like, hey, can you change the name of your show because that's the name of my show? I was like, nobody goes to either one of our shows. Calm down. It's like it's gonna be fine. I was like, we can join forces, but I'm not changing my name. I have it trademarked. I could sue you. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll change mine. But like, I really think when it comes to it, is like you get those territorial people. It's weird because what a lot of comics to me don't realize, even if they are really good and they are getting booked in the Bay Area, if you're not out like doing what Tony's doing, like touring, we're all pretty much in the same pot. There's no reason to be an asshole to somebody, but you get some of that entitlement if somebody's been doing it long enough or they know that they're, pretty good. And I just like to treat people like people until you treat me with less respect, and then you're not going to really get anything from me.
Well, let me ask, how long have you been at it now, Chris?
It'll be 5 years in December.
Okay, and you're doing a lot of hosting these days?
I mostly host. I've headlined a couple of shows. Like the first time I headlined was like 8 months in.
Oh, congratulations!
Cool. So I was like,
30 minutes, 45?
I did like 25?
Okay.
So I was surprised to do it. The longest that I've ever done was like 38. And I was like, I can't believe I stood up there for that long. I was only supposed to do 30, and I ran my own light.
That's a good feeling knowing that you could do that many minutes, though.
Yeah,
right?
But it's like also kind of watching it back. I'm like, yeah, I could trim a lot of this stuff out.
It's always surping like how much you can actually trim. You know, once you've been doing the bit long enough, there's a lot of
really
fat
only
there.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
like I doubled the amount of crap that I had in it, and people just laughed out of courtesy. You guys are a really good crowd.
So I guess in your 5 years in, and you're doing a lot of hosting, Would you? I guess. Do you agree with that? Like just being a good, reliable person is making the difference.
Well,
Definitely of getting you up.
yeah, you're the first person that goes up, so you should be the first person that's usually at the show, which is why I'm usually early to things like this.
No, I think that's great.
You know, but it's also hosting is probably one of the more important things to a show. If you have a bad host, people aren't going to really enjoy the show sometimes because this host is the most consistent person that you see during the show. They introduce all the comics. They say something in between each of them.
Warm up the audience.
Or yeah, they warm up the audience. And if the audience comes in cold, you know, it's like, and I have my nights where I'm, you know, doing a good job and it helps the other comics. And I have the nights where like I'm off, you know, and it's not a big deal because I know can't take it personally. It's gonna be another show. You know, if they remember me because I was great, great. If they remember me because I was bad, who gives a shit? I might not see them again. But one of the things that I think is it's an art to hosting because you have to know that if you go up and murder it at the top, you set the next comic up to not necessarily fail, but work against it. It could work against the comics coming up. But also, you
how nice of you! You don't murder.
Well, no, it's like I'm not amazing, you know. But like I think that I have a personality that people kind of like find at least somewhat enjoyable to be up there for as long as I am hosting. Some comics do have a tendency to do too much material in between comics, and what I learned is if a comic does a really good job, you just ride that wave, introduce the next comic because the crowd's ready for the next thing. But if you go up and you kill that vibe in between comics, then you just set up the next comic to have to work back the laughter.
Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad you said that because I've run into comics who say, "Oh, well, I don't care if the person in front of me like bombs or anything like that." It's like you're fucking out of your mind if you don't think that affects the crowd,
it affects
man.
Everything.
Yeah, it affects everything.
What are you
There's a
talking
reason why the host is so important. Even like when they, you know, Joe Rogan talks about when people would, you know, do their auditions for the Comedy Store. Like the host is super important because so it's like
they don't like the host. It's going to be hard for the comics.
So like when these comics, you know, tell me with that bravado, I don't care if the person buzzes or anything. You're fucking out of your mind, man. Come on, that's not reality.
No, it's not. I mean, but how many comics live in reality? Some of them are very delusional.
Like I get it. Like in terms of your mindset, it shouldn't affect you. You should have that killing mindset to begin with. But you can't say that it doesn't affect and you don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. Come on.
No,
I don't ride. I don't ride with that bullshit, man. It's like,
well, that's the thing is like one of the things I like about hosting is that I think that I'm pretty quick off cuff for certain things. So I like to listen to like the last few minutes of a comic set and find something that the crowd liked and then address that.
Doesn't that feel so good when you just do something like that?
Just real quick, just a one-liner. And then, boom, you get a quick laugh, and like, all right, they're still here. Next comic, you know, allowing them to kind of like, you just keep the flow going because if you're just giving them dead space sometimes, like, then, you know, it dips a little bit. I like to try to keep it, you know, crescendoing throughout the show all the way from, you know, from the first comic to the headliner. Yeah. So
you guys can come in. It's open. It's open. Yeah, we're just doing a podcast here. But you can come in and order.
And it's only going to cost you $20 to sit and listen. I'm just kidding.
And my Venmo is at Mike Libuna. No, but you know what? Because I always try to start even though I don't host, but I always start off my set.
Well, you're hosting now.
I know, but I found for me it's always worked wonders if every time I go up, I never start with just material. I'm always gonna either write off of something the previous comic just did, or I'm going to call something out in the room or in the crowd and just riff on that for like 10, 15, 20 seconds. Yeah. I just find for me, like, it gets the crowd on my side right away. It loosens them up and it loosens me up too. And it's a good feeling to be able to come up with something on the spot too. And all of a sudden, okay, now we're rolling. Okay, now we can get into the material as opposed to just jumping right into material. I found it works for me anyway. I don't know if
it's not for some people don't really have the ability, and it's something that you either you have or you have to learn. And the people that are really good at it have it, and then also learn how to make that better. Like you look at like Russell Peters, man, the ability to go off cuff the way that he does and make it personable to who he's addressing. That's a really tough thing, but that's just because he's a good listener.
Yeah, that's what it's about, is listening. Yes. Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is, like, one thing I learned is You also really have to know your material well to be doing that, because you can't go too far off the deep end. You're like, oh, what the yeah, what was I gonna say? I've lost my train of thought completely. Okay, that's it. I'm only doing 2 minutes. See you guys.
Well, and I've seen people do that where they go up there and they forget, and then they go and they just walk off stage. It's like, dude, you have 3 minutes left. It's like you were only doing 5. What happened? It's like, oh, I forgot what I was doing.
So, as a host, like, how important is it to you? Like, if the comic's gonna do 10 minutes, they gotta do like either 10 or like 9:45, 9:50, and not go over 10 at all, or is it? You can come in like 10 and a half. It's not too big a deal.
So if it's at a venue, not a club, you can be a little bit more loose with the time. Some of the comedy clubs are very strict. When we were at the Improv, they told us, hey, you got to stick to this amount of time. So, you have to adjust how much time you're giving people when they're getting the light. The great thing that I love about the Improv, though, was that they have a clock that as soon as you get on stage, it runs down. So it's like, how much time you have. If you run that, you're not coming back, especially if it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But running the light is one of the things I feel is one of the most disrespectful things that a comic can do while they're on a show, outside of talking during another comic's set and participating in the set, unless you guys don't care, but if you're running the light and you do it multiple times, I'm probably never going to book you on any of my shows, because it shows that you are going to make yourself more important than the show and take time from the other comics. So it's like, I get it. If it's your show, then you do whatever you want. I don't care. But if it's not your show, respect the time that you're getting so you can come back and do more. But it's just, the light to me is a big deal. I've seen a lot of comics run it and not really be in a space where they should be running it. And it makes the producer look bad. It makes the host look bad. And a lot of the other comics will talk about it.
So good rule of thumb is better to go a little short than
better to go a little bit short. Like when I did my set, I had 10 minutes over at the Improv. I ran down to 3 more seconds. So it was I had 9:57 that I did. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect timing right
and
there.
I had to cut some jokes short so I could fit it in because I went a little bit long in the beginning. But most comics know how long their material is. So you're aware of when you get to a certain joke, how much time you get. And you can tell the host, hey, light me when I get to 8 minutes, or give me a 2-minute light, or give me this light. And you're aware when you get to that joke how much time you really have left. And people have been doing it for years. You know better. Don't run the light.
It's funny you said that, because I'm doing Crazy Funny Asians tomorrow. And
yeah. Love K.
yeah. I've been running the 10-minute set for it, and I've been timing it at it's around 9.5, which to me is perfect for a 10-minute set, because I can do 15 to 20 seconds of playing around right up at top.
Yeah,
like I said, I like to do, and then I'll still be under 10. And then I ran it on Wednesday at 2 open mics, and it came in at 8:11. I was like, what the fuck? Did I skip something? I'm looking over my notes.
Rushing.
It's like, what the fuck? How the hell did I lose almost a minute and a half? And this thing's been coming at 9.5. So now I'm looking at this set. It's like, is this shit gonna fit? Is it enough? I'm I don't know at this point.
I wouldn't stress about it too much. One of the things you want to do that I've learned when I started was I was going too fast. And I was running over my punchlines. Say a joke hits, all right, the crowd's laughing, and I'd start the next joke in the middle of the laughter. And then somebody was like, hey, you should probably let them finish laughing before you start the next joke.
No, I've heard that before.
They're going to miss the setup.
Yeah, someone's told me that before.
Or if they're not laughing, just sit in the silence for a little bit, stare at somebody, regather, and go.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the thing. I've been told that before, too, and the first mic I ran it at, that made sense because it was just nothing but comics, and it was just 2 comics.
Yeah.
So obviously it's...
What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? But the second place I ran it, there actually was a little bit of a crowd, and they were laughing. And it still went fast. I was like, what the fuck happened to this set? How am I going so much faster than I did before? And it's just it's got me in this weird space now. It's like, do I need to add more? Or it's is this going to be... Once I'm actually in the crowd and assuming people are laughing, and Crazy Funny Asians usually does a good job of getting a big crowd over there.
Yes.
I was so I'm kind of a little bit hesitant now. I wonder, is this gonna be 10? Is it gonna be 2 minutes short? Like,
as long as well, this is the other thing too. As long as you're having fun, typically they're having, the crowd's having fun. So it's like go up there with the goal of, just really enjoy your time on there, and it'll kind of work itself out. You can try to add some extra stuff in. What I usually do when I know that I have a certain amount of material, I know which jokes are going to fill 10 to 12 minutes. So I'll put that on my set list, and I'll just kind of mentally go over my set list.
Yeah.
Not really the jokes. I'm like, all right. And then when they light me, then I determine what jokes I need to cut off.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's kind of, that's what I had to do, and that's why I got surprised. Like 8-11, how the hell, dude? But like I said, there was nothing but comics, and even then, there was only 2 comics sitting in front of me. Everyone else was hanging out back. So I'm hoping that's why it went by so fast. It's like I'm not exactly holding for any laughter.
Do you record? You record your sets?
I do.
You record? Okay,
yeah,
so
I just find it helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to kind of.
You have to study the tape. It's just like being an athlete.
Yeah, it's like it's you got to swallow your pride and just watch yourself or listen to yourself. It helps so much.
It does.
Yeah, but like I think you get used to it. It's not as cringing as it used to when I first started watching myself or listening to myself. It's like, oh, fucking Christ. I almost kind of got to watch it like that.
Right.
Kind of half listen to it. But I've gotten used to it already at this point.
Yeah. It's hard at first when you're starting to do comedy to really look at it. I remember I had done comedy for maybe a week and a half.
You started doing it already, huh?
So I was... So basically, I did the way that I actually started. I was doing improv at the time, and the first show that I did, it was a Dan Meyer show, Clayton Valley Bowl, and he asked me. He was like, "Hey, you got 5 minutes?" I was like, I don't know. It was like as he's introducing me, I'm just writing down jokes because I didn't know how much time was like. So I go up, everybody's like, "Oh, you did really good. I can't believe it was your first time." I'm like, "Cool." Second show I go and do, I bomb. And the producer was like, "You brought the show down." You know, he's
God.
Just was berating me the next time that we saw each other, and I didn't do comedy for 2 years.
But he knows that was your second time doing it.
Yeah, and I was like, he was like, "You ran the light." I was like, "You never lit me." He was like, you went over here. I was like, I didn't know how long I was going until I was done. Yeah. So I didn't do comedy for 2 years. I finally picked it up in 2017, which
took that long to build yourself back up.
So it was at the Tommy T's open mic, and it was it was like a competition at the time that they would run it. I won that and got put on a showcase.
Oh, awesome!
So I was able to record the showcase, and there was a lot of people there, and there was a fight there, and it was really cool. So I was like, "Yeah, this is great. I love comedy." But I recorded that set, and I actually met a week later at Cobb's Comedy Club, Rex Not Ready.
Oh,
so I was like, dude, Badly Brown, you're the guy that made it possible for me to understand that Filipinos can go out and do comedy. This is great, because you never saw that.
Yeah,
it was 2004 when I first listened to it. And I was like, "This is great. This is so it's so relatable."
Oh, he was a phenomenon.
Oh, he was fantastic.
Husky boy, and
yeah. So when people talk about, the first Filipino comic, and they're mentioning Joe Coy, I'm like, "No, dude, it was Rex. That was my guy."
I don't know if Rex ever penetrated outside of the Filipino or Asian community,
and that was what was kind of, I think, it was more to the base, But for me, to me, he's bigger than the base. You know what I mean? So it's it's great to address that. But for me, he's that trailblazer. That
he's doing a show in Salinas. I saw that posting, and I got 2 friends who are going to open for him now.
Oh, cool! See?
I'm so happy for you, motherfuckers. But you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't say I'm never salty about bookings, but you just learn because. You never know, because it's not really just about being funny too. It's also about balancing the acts. Who goes well better with the acts that are already on the show.
And the producers know their rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're just not a fit for the room.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Yeah. But there's always going to be a little bit of saltiness, especially at the level I'm at. There's just, maybe once you start getting booked on a regular basis, you learn to let go of the other things. It's
and you know what it is too. It's the thing that Rex told me when I sent him my clip was, he's like, "You cuss too much." I was and it was needless cussing. It was just filling the words where "the" was actually the word "fucking."
That's kind of how we talk in the Bay Area.
Yes, right. Yeah. So it's just you got to stop doing that. But when it comes to the bookings, right, that's a big deal. Is what your tape looks like, how personable you are. But it's not even just the booking. It's really certain people get booked, not necessarily because they're funny, but because they're persistent. Like when you were talking with Tony about how to hit up a booker and the right way to do it, it's like you do it periodically, not you don't inundate them because everybody's doing
Hey, I
that.
just emailed you yesterday. You haven't responded yet. Just want to follow
see
up.
my emails. Like I sent a red receipt. Like what's going? Like, dude, calm down. You're not the only one hitting me up. So it's like you have to go out and look for the spots and then make the relationships. It's such a web of things that you have to do to be bookable. So once you get to the point where you're doing all those things, you're sending the emails, making the calls, making the connections, and then also hitting up those connections to do those shows, and then improving your material, because if your material's not good, people aren't necessarily going to want to book you always, but if they like you, they might throw you on the show. But like for me, more people ask me to host because they know that I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be consistent.
You're going to keep the show rolling. You're going to set a good tone at top.
And for the most part, I don't have beef with any of the other comics, so I'm not a problem to be on a show.
You're a unicorn.
Well, not necessarily. If I was, I'd be taller. But there are a couple comics that I don't necessarily get along with, which, it's like, it's not a big deal. I'm going to be professional even if they're on the show, because I'm not going to sit here and make it about me. But when it comes to being bookable, that's also part of it. That's your professional. It's all those things jumped into one.
Yeah.
How personable are you? And you don't have to be personal to get booked. You just have to be able to hold somewhat of a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's, what you said right there. I think that's like one lesson people should take to heart in the Bay Area communities. Like, even if you may not necessarily, there you go, now we got the kid crying. That's
funny
great.
You hear the
but you know what? Actually, the mics do a good job of really just picking up our voices.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you're gonna hear that, but
that's
they're gonna hear.
I love it, though. It's like, you stop being bad about it. You're gonna get the slipper.
But our voice is gonna come through. No, but I feel like people do tend to get caught up in beefs, in the American. And to me, I guess it's probably just my age coming through. Is like, I'm not gonna be best friends with everyone. That's just the way it works. But it doesn't mean I have to have beef with them or I have to hate them or anything. Exactly. No, it's just. I'm not going to be best friends with anyone, but I'll still show them the same professional courtesy that I would want to be treated with. I'll just give them space. I'm not going to be kicking it with them.
Yeah, unless they're stealing jokes, so you beat your ass.
Have you ever experienced that?
I recently did, but I don't take too much because I don't take too much to it because it was not a joke that I was married to. So it was about.
Well, you can have that one, peasant.
I
got more up my sleeve.
I was like, okay, it literally happened organically while I was getting my haircut, and my boy was like, dude, you always look pissed off. He's like, you got like RDF. I was like, what's that? He's like, resting dick face. I was like, I'm gonna use that. And then another comic used it, and I was like, this was after. I don't know how long he's been telling the joke, but I know that I told the joke while we were at the same mic, and then I heard him tell it like a week later. Because I went up before him at the mic, and then I left, and then I saw him at another spot, and then he told his joke. It was variation, but he also used the same term. I was like, all right, I was like, am I be mad about it? No, I don't really care. I don't like the joke. Kind of works. I don't give a shit. He can have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a small.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But if somebody's taking my material, which hasn't happened to me, but I've seen. I was actually at a mic. When they were doing the open mic at Tommy T's, and I was sitting with a couple of comics, there was one guy who went up there, started this set, and the comics looked at me and were like, bro, plagiarism. I was like, what? He's like, dude, word for word, everything that guy has said up there has been from another comic.
Whoa.
I was like, wow, really? And then he came up to me after he got off stage. He's like, oh, what's up, dude? And I was like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, you know that guy? I was like, well, I mean, like, I see him here. I was like, what do I do? I was like, I don't know the jokes. I just have only heard this guy tell them, but they knew the jokes from previously. So, and they were like, dude, it's word for word.
Wow.
So I kind of like, whenever I see the guy, I haven't seen him in a long time, but when I see him, it's nice, personable, but at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way to be associated with somebody who's going to take somebody's whole set and I don't know if it's my place to tell them. Because we're not that great of friends. If I am good buddies with somebody, I'd be like, hey, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, if somebody took my joke, I would address it.
Yeah, that's it. I think you're in a position where you basically just, keep your distance. Hey, don't take any sides here.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I don't know why someone would do that because, like I was telling Tony, while there are a ton of comics in the Bay Area, but the word gets around like really
Easy,
quick,
real quick,
too. Yeah.
especially on Bacon.
Oh my God.
Bacon is one of the
Oh, my
best. Bacon is
Lord.
one of the best reads for drama in the world, which is part of the reason why I kind of stay off of it. And I don't like when I need to fill shows. I don't go on there. I just hit people up individually. But when I want to like watch, I want to sip my tea and just watch it go down, I go on to Bacon and there it is. I'm just like, oh, this is great.
These are full-grown adults doing this. Yeah, that's the thing.
It was like, wow, man, you know that like people can screenshot these, right? Even if you delete it, like that's what happens.
That's like it's like you said, it's fun to read, but I'm never taking part.
As soon as I see something controversial, I'll read it. I'm never gonna like it, never gonna comment it, but I am aware of it. It's like, I didn't say it. I'm not for it one way or the other, and I didn't document my choice.
I know people really just go in on it. That's what surprises me.
It's like, and the funniest thing, and I saw this meme was. Is like this picture of like somebody screaming into a microphone. It's like comics online, and then comics in person. It's like somebody like this. It's like you're not going to do anything in person. Like me, I'm the type of person where if I have a problem with you, I'm going to go talk to you about it when I see you, or I'll go look for you.
You're also pretty jacked too, so you have that confidence to go up to.
Well, this is more chubbiness. I haven't worked out, and I haven't worked out in years.
I know,
but I used to be like really big. Yeah. So like. It's more just kind of like, it's not me trying to impose my will on somebody. It's just like, look, man, we're adults. We don't need to talk about this online. Let's talk about it in person and get it squashed so there's no misunderstandings. But if you're going to talk to me any kind of way, we can do some extra shit. I'm down to fight.
Yeah, I think I guess that's one of the side effects of social media and all that is people have this false sense of confidence of talking shit.
Of like, the false sense of safety.
Yeah,
like
false sense. No, but like, no, there are consequences. If you say like the wrong thing, yeah. And if I know where you're going to be at, if you say something like that horrendous, expect to be confronted in person. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to. And
it doesn't happen anymore. And that's, we're fairly soft society when it comes to those things. It's like comics understand you're going to be offensive at times because we want to be either on the edge of that line because we understand that's part of what comedy is. And I don't get political, because I'd be more on a soapbox than be humorous. I don't want to bring a show down because I'm on my soapbox. Like, that does me no service. If I want to do that, I'll get on a podcast and talk my shit that way.
Yeah.
I.e. podcast. But when it comes to like certain things, like just confronting somebody that you have a disagreement with, the moment that you disagree with somebody online, and you can't necessarily articulate exactly what your point is, you're immediately an idiot to the person that you disagree with because you don't see what I'm seeing, so you're dumb. It's like, no, man, like the discourse is important. I just maybe can't get it out the same way. But in person, you hear the tonality of it. You can tell if they're being sarcastic or not. You don't have to type it in parentheses, sarcasm. It's like, but it's different. It's different to have a conversation than type one.
Well, the thing I find about just disagreements in general, too, is most of the time you're not really going to convince the other person of your point of view anyway, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right? So it really just comes down to being able to respect that, contrasting take on things. Okay, well, we can agree to disagree, but it shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be married to these ideas, and this shouldn't, this shouldn't be like the deal breaker for us being able to be civil towards each other, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just... Like, how old are you?
I'm going to be 38 this year.
Yeah, so I don't think... So I'm 41, right?
Yeah,
I think it's also just a generational thing, to be perfectly honest. I think we might be the last generation that kind of... Because we were still around before the internet came around. Exactly, that's the thing.
Right? We're the weirdest thing. Like, we're coupled into...
There you go. That kid's good.
This is just hitting the high notes. Wish you guys could see this shit. It's hilarious. But like, that's the thing, right? Is we're in that weird space of existence where we're coupled into millennials, but we're not millennials. You're not a millennial if you owned a VCR.
No, we're Gen X, actually.
Yeah, so it's like, but like somebody told me, he's like, no, you're a millennial. I'm like, no, I'm fucking not. I don't care what the internet said. It's like, I'm not. I know that I'm not. Because I was there in 1989 in a classroom when they put one computer only, into the library, and everybody had to share that computer in the entire school. I remember that. Oregon Trail. Everybody wanted to play it. We ran out of BBs. We couldn't kill all the squirrels. It's like... So, Carmen San Diego, that little truck driving
Carmen
game,
San
all that stuff,
Diego.
man.
Oh my god.
So I was there for that. I remember the dial tones. You had to walk. If you left the house, nobody could find you, and you had to carry change if you wanted to make a phone call, or you had to know how to get around. Using 1-800.
Collect, man.
Collect or
Oh.
MCI.
MCI. Oh
right?
my god.
Remember that shit? That's like, oh, you guys are old. I don't even know what MCI is.
Probably don't even know what a payphone is.
Most current information? No, motherfucker, it is a phone company.
MCI. Oh
but that's the generational gap, right? Is that while that was all happening, we were out doing things. Kids were outside. I drive for FedEx now, and I'm outside all the time, like when I was a kid, and I don't see kids playing outside anymore. Like the kids aren't running around on their bikes. They're not playing sports. They're inside looking at a screen. And that's pretty much what we're all doing now, especially after the pandemic. Like, it's things have changed so much to where you can feel the false sense of security by yelling all of your things on a keyboard
without any consequences. No potential of physical harm towards you. Because back then, you talk shit, it's gonna come back to you.
You're gonna fight. You're gonna come home
you're gonna
with a
get confronted.
And scraped lip.
And then it's really gonna be revealed whether or not you really back up that talk or not. Or
exactly.
it's like, but that just doesn't penetrate you. I mean, that's honestly, maybe that's a better thing. Maybe people shouldn't have that. But it's what they say.
It builds character. Ass whooping builds character.
It does. It's like they have that saying in the South: "Is there an armed society is a polite society?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you might get shot, so you better be fucking nice and have some patience. And
yes.
if you're talking shit, there's a potential ass beating at the other end of that. You're gonna be more thoughtful about when you decide to talk some shit,
especially if you can't fight, which is most comedians.
Yeah, that's
and that's the hard thing about what Will Smith did with Chris Rock, whether it was orchestrated or not. That put regular comedians who aren't touring, who don't have a lot of money, who have regular jobs, in a really weird space where they have to learn how to fight now because they could get attacked. And it's been on the rise for the last few years anyways. It just doesn't get publicized as much. But now you see people going up and attacking, with the Dave Chappelle right after, where the guy had a knife.
Oh, that guy got destroyed.
Yes.
Oh my god,
that's what he should look like.
Yeah.
That's what any of you ever jump on stage. I can fight. Okay, you gonna be real sad about that day.
Look at Chris's guns, people. You don't have to worry about Chris defending himself. He can handle himself.
And if you attack any of my friends, I will find you and have a conversation with you. I'm not going to put anything incriminating on here right now.
No, but you're a good guy. You're going to try to handle it verbally first. But
yeah, I mean,
but
you try to. You let somebody know where you stand.
Yeah, but
and this is the line you crossed. Don't do it again.
Yeah, and then when it's important to have that line, but it's also important to really make them feel that if they do cross that line, there's going to be some real consequences. And there's a difference. You can tell when you're talking to a person whether they're really down to do something about it or not. Yeah.
He's crazy. This guy's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, I'll be going around the mics and, there's some people who just talk some mad shit about other comics. It's
do.
God damn, you guys, you could get your ass beat, if you, I mean, luckily, I don't say luckily, but for the most part, like you said, most comics
they're not going to. There's really no point.
Especially if they're on the younger end, right? Yes. That's just not the culture anymore. But if you fuck with anyone around my age,
I'm going to FedEx these fucking hands. It's like, next day delivery, bitch.
So it boggles my mind, how that's. It's like you ever hear that saying. I mean, I listen to Joe Rogan Experience a lot, but he always quotes that hard times make hard people. Mm-hmm. Hard people make for good times, and good times make for soft people.
Yes,
and that definitely is what's happening. And it's kind of like the things people get outraged at is because there's no real. Well, I wouldn't say there's struggles for people, but generally speaking, people are doing well enough, or they don't have like the barriers that they used to.
Yeah, there's more opportunities that are at our fingertips now than ever before. However, there's also that disparity of gap in socioeconomics, right? So, and it's easier to see the information's more transferable now than it ever has been. But we're so inundated with all of these things that we're not sure what to rifle through and decipher as this is immediately important to my existence and my survivability. So you get people outraged at things that maybe you wouldn't outrage somebody 10 years ago, but that is the development of time and society. So what you get out of that is you get people that look at things on a spectrum that we don't understand because
Oh yeah, we definitely don't
weren't raised
understand it.
that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I understand that, but every generation's like that, right? The great thing I think is that people are trying to at least appear to be more thoughtful in the way that we treat each other. I think more than we ever have, where there's anti-bullying things and there's more acceptance. At the same time, you kind of need some of the bullying.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's all bad, not saying that it's all good, but it's just really just it's character development. Like I never would have been able to learn how to roast somebody if I didn't myself get picked on.
Yeah.
Then I can go ahead and look at somebody and be like, this is what I'm going to talk about if they make fun of me. While you're making fun of me, I'm going to talk about this. Did you know that you weren't aware of that? Okay, now everybody thinks it's funny. Here we go. I have a microphone now. So it's just the way that we develop through those things that I feel like. I was watching the Orville. I don't know if you've ever seen it with
No.
so Seth MacFarlane's the creator of this show, and the most recent episode I watched was, how like people have social media, right? Social media points, kind of like number of followers, likes, all that.
Mm-hmm.
The most interesting thing about this one was that if you did something bad and somebody recorded you doing it, you got upvoted and downvoted. That was their legal system. So the more upvotes you had for something, great. The more downvotes, they re-educated you by putting you into a chair and lobotomizing you. Now you're just a good citizen, right? And you had to go like on an apology tour. So it's like similar to what we see, like with like what happened with Kevin Hart when he lost hosting the Oscars, right? And it's just like we're moving in that kind of direction very slowly, but it's like it's important to have it, but it's also important to understand what should be socially acceptable to blacklist somebody on. Because when you cancel a person, it's kind of fucked up, if you don't know everything. And people are so outraged by the 10-second clip that context is missing. So when people don't understand the context of a joke that maybe Kevin Hart told 10 years ago, it's like, was it funny then? Like, look at Eddie Murphy's special, like Raw and all that. Oh, it was bad, but it was funny back then because that's what was accepted. So I like to leave those things in those time periods because it was funny then and was accepted then. But we also have to make sure that we're not telling those jokes now because they don't work now, because that's not what's accepted societally. You can't go back into somebody's life that just said a few words and they're doing better now and just completely erase 30 years of individual work that they've done to create distance between that person and who they are now.
But that's exactly like what the whole cancel culture does, though,
Yes,
right? It's
and
like they
that's
even want to
the hard
cancel
part.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah,
And,
you say
it's
one wrong thing, and it's like, okay, but I get it. There is the issue with America, right? Is that we don't address the generational trauma that the country's built on. We skip over certain segments. We skip over Native Americans and African Americans. So we get over that, and you get the list of all the reparations paid out to everybody but these people. Then you have a whole other type of conversation. But it's also really smart on their part to be that divisive, because if you're divisive into what we would consider minority populations, we're considerably going to be warring against each other, never putting the power together that the government's scared of, because where's the strength lying? The people. We're the ones that put them. We could literally, Sri Lanka just had a march on their capital and stormed the president's quarters, and they're swimming in his pool and they want him out. Like, we could do that.
Oh,
we could really do that.
What's Chris advocating for over here? He wants another January 6th.
I mean, we could do that, but I think we're so apathetic and in a lot of areas, and we're outraged in a lot of areas, but we can't find a way to get everybody that's being affected by it to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah, that's
the hardest part.
I would say that, it's definitely not a new take on things, right? I think it's been said a lot that the government wants to keep people angry at each other so that they don't.
Yeah, they've been making movies about it for 50, 60 years.
So that they never have their eye on the prize. And really, but I guess, as the older I've gotten, what I realized is I really just got to try to build my life in a way where it's really just not reliant on the government or whoever's in office. I got to build a life that's going to do well no matter who's in office. And it has nothing
and they're all
to
clowns.
do with it. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, So when people like get so, because it's like sports teams, right? Politics. People are rooting for the team. It's like I feel like if that's really what you're prioritizing in your life, I don't think you're ever gonna be like happy, or you're gonna be just like stressed for the rest of your life. There's always gonna be something
You're
to be
relying
angry
on
about.
somebody else
Yeah, exactly.
to
It's
provide
like
things for you.
you're better off just focusing on yourself and trying to build a good life for yourself, regardless of what they're doing, and just be free from all of it. I mean, I know it's easier said than done.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
trust me. Yeah. I've been poor for a long time. I'm trying to. I'm getting close to building some Airbnb properties in the Philippines, trying to get out of that. Yeah, but
what's up? Let's go on tour.
yeah, I know. The thing is like there's no real stand up in the Philippines like it is over here. What they have over there is, I don't know if have you spent any time in the Philippines?
Unfortunately, I have not.
Okay, so what?
Everybody always tells me like you gotta go.
What they have over there is really more. I wouldn't say it's a drag show. They're definitely dressed up. The men dressed up as women, but it's kind of like it's a karaoke, almost open mic, because they do let audience members come up.
Okay.
But they're doing crowd work the whole time, and then they're singing. They'll sing both the male and the female part, and they're really good at crowd work too, right? Filipinos are just natural born entertainers.
Yes.
Honestly, but that's it. That's as close as you're gonna get to stand up.
Okay.
But there is one guy now who's starting the stand up scene there. His name is Alex Calleja. The last time I was there, just this past from February till mid-May, my brother-in-law introduced me to him on YouTube, and yeah, he's starting U.S. style stand-up in the Philippines. He's like the one guy. I think he's running an open mic now at a certain club, and he does really well. But it's definitely all the references are very Philippines oriented.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Like I spent a significant time there, growing up and during my 20s. So I get the references.
Yeah.
But my wife, who's born and raised in the Philippines, is laughing her ass off.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah. That's funny. So it's very raw still.
Mm-hmm.
It's only him. I don't know if there's other comics going to his open mic. I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of people he's drawing, but he's got a pretty decent YouTube following. And the videos he puts up, he's got a good amount of people in his crowd. So I was like, I'm going to be going back there end of August. I'm going to be gone for 6 months, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, no, something.
Yeah, I might go visit you then.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm hoping is I got to keep doing stand up for when I'm gone. I can't just stop for 6 months. I'm hoping to reach out to him to see if we can't do something together. If I can help him build it up more, and even if I can just get some stage.
If you're out there for 6 months, you could start up your own thing and be like, "Hey, do you want to take this over when I leave?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping something could be working out, because otherwise I think I would have to be going to Singapore once a month, because I know American-based comics do go over there. They have clubs, and I don't know if they have open mics, but
Yeah.
being a comic from the Bay Area, maybe it'll give me some leverage to actually just get booked and still get some stage time.
Yeah, you can fabricate some credits.
Yeah, exactly.
I do this, and this.
Yeah, they wouldn't know any
You better
better.
book it. Yeah, okay.
I just pretend I'm an agent, create an email,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, it's you never know. But yeah, I don't know how I got in that. We're talking about, how the hell did I get on that topic? Where were you?
I don't know. The great sign of intelligence is the ability to connect different topics that are seemingly unrelated. So,
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about. Oh no, because we were talking about trying to build a life that's just outside of relying on whoever's in.
yeah, the Airbnb. There you
power,
go.
yeah, in
Yes.
power at the moment. And yeah, that's just what I've learned really growing older. Is just okay. You really just you have to find a way to be kind of invulnerable to things that run hot and cold, like with politics, or even honestly, even a full-time job. Because at the end of the day,
it's such a scam. In the end, at the end of the day, it's a scam. I mean,
it is.
I'm fortunate to where I can work. This week I worked 18 hours, get paid for 40. You know what I'm saying?
What do you do?
I drive for FedEx. Basically,
I heard that's really good money. Actually,
it's not.
Really?
I work for Ground. We're all contracted, so it's not. We're a subsidiary, I guess, of FedEx. Actually, Express, they work for FedEx, so you have to stay out and work your 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I get my job done, and they're like, as long as you do your job and you're not causing problems, we don't care. You can go home.
Damn, that's a great deal, dude.
So like, yeah, on average, I can work 7 days a week, and typically that's 8 hours a day times that 56 hours. I'll work 40 and get paid for the 56. Just because I'm efficient at my job, I get it done, and I don't really get into that much trouble, which is a lie. But I'm basically, they describe me at work as like the Draymond Green of FedEx, is because I go and I talk a lot of shit. But that, me also being a comic, I forget what it's like to be around some normal people at times. I'm like, oh, you have feelings. I'm sorry I hurt them. Not really. Do your job. I'm doing mine. But it's nice because it's beneficial. So if I want to take time off, I can usually leave pretty much whenever I want, as long as when I come back, it's I'm still taking care of my stuff.
Oh, that's a great gig to have. So a great side gig there. Yeah.
I'm just lazy when it comes to figuring out what the side hustle should be outside of comedy. It's like, I could do this, I could do that. But it's like, it's going to be so much work. I don't like legal things.
No, that is the tough part, because like I was telling Tony, I've been a videographer. I was a videographer anyway for like 9 years. And it's always it's finding that balance between, chasing your passion, but you still got to pay bills too, right?
Exactly.
Because I would basically do my own client work and do freelance work, but I was never great at keeping that consistent, because like the business side of it, no one really teaches you that, and it takes up so much time. And if you're doing all the creative stuff too, I mean, it's very similar to stand up in that way, right? Yes. The creative just takes so much of your time, and then to be able to do all the social media and all the business aspect of it, it's a full-time job. You really, like, let's say it, if you're lucky enough where that's all you're doing, then
good for you.
Good for you.
Nice. You're getting the brandings and all that. You're getting paid for your face.
But it's a lot to do, man. It's so like for like the past 9 years, it's always been that to me. Like once, especially being married now, that changed things a lot. Because like I like to say, like before I got married, my timeline for success was just be successful anytime before you die. The moment I got married, it's like you just shrank.
I got to make sure we don't starve to death.
So I actually need a plan now. I need goals and things like that. It's like, oh my god! But it was good for me, honestly. I think that's good pressure to have.
It makes you accountable to somebody outside of yourself, and typically why certain people fail, and not just comics, but people in general, is we're not accountable to ourselves on a consistent basis. When you have somebody else putting pressure on you to provide something that's necessary for survival and not even just success, then that allows you to unlock different parts of your motivation. It's like, okay, you have a kid, all of a sudden this dude that was a piece of shit you grew up with, but your friends, is like, oh, you have a kid now. Man, this is the best you've done in your entire life, bro. What happened? It was the kid, man. I got to be a better human.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's what they
cool.
say.
I don't want one, but you're doing great with one. It's like, I'm proud of you. You're doing great.
Do you read a lot of books? Because you're so well spoken, dude. The way you express your ideas, they're very well put together sentences.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I do tend to read a lot of different things. People are like, oh, how many books you read a year? I was like, I don't really count, but I will read like from time to time 3 or 4 books, all kind of like simultaneously, and I'll switch between. Just kind of depends on how I am.
Oh, you can do that, huh?
Yeah, if I'm reading like Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States, that's a lot of information in a book, so I'll need something to offset it. So I was like, and I read that like I'm in college. I'll underline and highlight and make sure that I'm like writing notes in the.
Oh, you take notes.
I take notes when I read stuff like that.
Because, you are deep.
I like that stuff because it's important to understand what you're reading, and I try to read with the thesaurus just in case I don't get what they're saying. And then I'll read like 20 Star Wars books a year. It's like, or I'll throw in like a
you're
graphic
into
novel.
the extended universe.
Oh man, I really am, and I'm so disappointed with what they did with it. It's like, oh my god.
What did you think of Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan, my hopes were high. They said that they were going to be hour-long episodes, but they ended up being like anywhere from 38 minutes to 54, which was extremely disappointing, because then it looks at, all right, they're hour-long episodes. Well, it shows that you had 38 minutes out of this one. You could have made it longer. You cut out a lot of stuff. So what did you cut out? Because it was a trash episode. So it's like, there's so many references that they don't use that have access to, which are actually helpful in furthering a good story, but they choose to go in a different direction because it's Disney. I thought it was okay. It was like a 6. You
A
know,
6
I
out of
could watch
10.
it, but I'm not gonna. I watched it the one time. Probably not gonna watch it again.
It's like at the end of the night, 2 a.m. You'll go home
Yeah.
with it, but you're not going to
Like,
be
nah, I'm not missing
approaching it at,
No,
11,
not
11
even
p.m.
close. Boba Fett was my guy, and they bastardized the
See,
hell
to
out
me,
of
that
it.
was the one that was
That
the most
was-
disappointing.
Oh my god, it's like the thing that I don't like that they do is they turn a lot of like they did with the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian was well written and well executed. So I thought they did a fantastic job with that, beginning to end. The 2 best episodes of Boba Fett were the Mandalorian.
Yeah, it's exactly what I say. Without
like
that,
he's not even
nothing
in it.
really
It
happens.
would have been so much worse.
Yeah.
But it's like they make Obi-Wan and they make Boba Fett, like, yes, I understand trauma and having to regain some of your connection to whatever it is that you lost, but they made them seem like they were completely inept, like they didn't have these skills before, and then somebody else is teaching them, or they're just figuring it out in a way that it's like, well, Yoda said at the end of Revenge of the Sith that he has training for him. He wasn't doing it the entire,
yeah,
like
he just said,
wasn't
"Fuck
doing it
it."
at least like once a week where he could keep it. It's like, no, I just gave it all up. That's how much it hurt. Like, no, dude, like you're gonna use a little bit of it here and there. It's like reading a book.
Well,
sometimes.
I guess, that's a good point, right? Obviously, from the time this guy was a kid, he lived a life of discipline and
Yes.
training. And all of a sudden, he's just going to give it up.
Yeah,
and
I
not
mean,
do it
that
at
does
all.
happen with fighters or athletes when you see they put on weight. Here's mine. But it's just like, yeah, you get that, right? I get that there's some mental rest period, but it's even though you do it, you don't really lose it. Like, I haven't trained in a long time, but I can still throw a punch. I didn't forget how to do that, So I don't like how they made them seem like they never had the skills that they had before this moment in the series, and I think that was unreal. They're very unrealistic, especially when you have somebody like Kylo Ren who's trained his whole life as a Jedi and then a Sith, get beat up by 2 people who have never held a lightsaber for an extended period of time in their lives. I thought that was so unrealistic. It was like, come on, man, he would murder them. I know you don't want to end the story, but at the same time, come on, do something better with the writing.
Yeah, those are all good points. Yeah, you really do know your
I
Star
do,
Wars, yeah.
and I hate that I do because it makes me enjoy it a little bit less.
The thing is, like, I actually like what they did with the Star Wars universe outside of the movies. Like, to me, like the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars was amazing. That was the best stuff that they did.
Rebels.
Yes,
Rebels I enjoyed a
I got
lot.
I got my points with Rebels, but it was good.
What do you have against Rebels?
Whenever Kanan and Ezra are fighting, they never attack, man. They're just blocking all of the shots and redirecting them. It's like, come on, man, go and attack. It's like it's overwhelming because you're letting them overwhelm you. It's like, come on, man, use a force push them into each other, and go charge it in a little bit, cut off a few heads. But again, it's a cartoon. They don't want to do that.
But that's what I enjoyed about the video game, the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Because you do have to put that kind of strategy to the combat. The combat was a good
you have to
challenge.
redirect
Yeah,
in the
it's like,
beginning.
yeah.
It's so hard in the beginning.
Oh, but
and then when
so
you finally get all the powers at
satisfying.
the end, it's like, okay. this
Yeah,
is worth
right.
it.
When you figure out the combat, it's so satisfying. You
Yes.
feel like a Jedi.
You do.
Yeah.
I feel like if they had chosen to go more in the Force Unleashed direction, it probably would have been a more
I
entertaining
never played
game.
that one because that one, like, you
Oh
were
my
ridiculously
God, bro.
powerful from the beginning, right?
Like, not ridiculously, but you build it up. It's very similar to how they structured it in the Jedi Fallen Order, but it's at a more enjoyable level. If you have Xbox and you have the Game Pass, bro, I swear to God, it is totally where you've played the Fallen Order, right?
Yeah.
You enjoyed it. You're going to love The Force Unleashed. The Force Unleashed is unreal. It's so fun because you can
play it.
build up a lot quicker. Because it's such a slow burn in the Jedi Fallen Order where you're getting things kind of at a slower pace. But in Fallen Order, or in Force Unleashed, oh man, it is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, trust me.
For me,
and the gameplay is way easier.
I appreciate the slow pace, though, for me personally, because, like, when it finally does come, I really feel like I've earned it.
Oh,
you
like to earn it.
Yeah.
I play on easy.
no, I always play on normal mode because to me, okay, that's the
standard,
difficulty level that's what it's meant to be played at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I like having to figure out the combat system, and I feel like feeling like I earned. So I don't mind a slow start. I'm a pleasure delayer, I guess, when it
Okay.
comes to that. So that's why I really enjoyed. But man, maybe I wonder if they have Force Unleashed on Steam. Then I mean, I can pick it up
They
on Steam.
might. You should definitely look it up. Are you like a KOTOR fan?
Yeah,
Okay, see,
only number one, number two.
number two, I liked the powers, but I didn't like the story as
Yeah,
much. Right?
yeah,
But I've played both of them probably close to 40 times.
yeah,
each.
yeah.
Just because I like seeing the different modes of I like the RPG aspect
Yeah.
where you can choose to be light or dark.
Well, BioWare, man, that's what they were so
there's-
great at.
And I'm sad to read the newer reports about the remake that doesn't look like it's going well.
Oh, no.
It looks disappointing because it's Aspire. They had people that worked on it but really weren't. Like, I don't know.
What's
It's sad.
interesting because I just said I like the slow burn when it comes to like those Star Wars games, but for me, KOTOR 1,
Good, it was great.
it's just it's actually a little too slow of a
Oh,
burn
yeah?
for me. I want that fucking lightsaber, It's like it takes so long to
It
get to
does,
that point
it
where you
does.
get your lightsaber.
Yeah.
It's like, because at least when you with Jedi Fallen Order, you have the lightsaber already. You may
Yes.
not be able to do much, but
Yeah.
at least you have it. But it takes so long in
It
the
does.
KOTOR 1, yes.
And that's why I was looking forward to the remake, right? Is
Uh-huh.
because the remake was supposed to, I feel like it was going to be a combination of the two. It was kind of like going to be married into a really nice, comfortable space where you're going to get things at a pace that isn't so fast that it's blinding, but it makes you earn a little bit in a way that it feels like it's satisfactory to continuing wanting to play because
Did you-
they had the MMO. I didn't really have access to a computer that could handle that kind of experience because it was like one of those old Dells.
Yeah.
And now like nobody really uses it anymore. So I was
Uh-huh.
like, why would I go play it? I just wait for the video game.
Yeah.
That's why I got the console.
Yeah, I've never been into MMOs because I just could never vibe with the fact that my experience is gonna hinge on other people. It's
Other
like,
people doing stuff. Yeah, I like story mode by myself. I don't need to
Yeah.
play with people online.
I don't
and I'm
need
not
any
that
other
good.
factors going in on it. I just want to be able to enjoy it regardless of what's happening with other people.
Yeah.
No, that's just my time. I remember I used to work in video games, and I told.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to work QA for. I'm not going to name the company because I hate the
Oh, no?
company. Yeah.
It's okay. You can tell us.
I think I already named it. I named it in a previous episode. I think I worked for Cryptic Studios. We made Star Trek Online
Yes.
and Neverwinter. And to be fair, I don't know if they're still a shitty company. I haven't been there in a long time. They could be a completely different team. They could be
Yeah.
great people
They
now.
could have
So
been bought out by
yeah,
somebody
so
and changed the
I'll
culture.
just say, well, I was working there. It was fucking shit.
Well, a lot of the video game companies are like that.
Yeah.
They don't treat the workers
No,
well,
no. Because I don't know what it is with video game companies. They don't like to grow their people. They
don't
don't,
have a lot of
promote
social
from
skills
within.
either.
Yeah. It's kind of similar
Kinda
to
like
stand-up.
comedy.
Yeah, it's stand-up that way. That's what I say about videography coming from video games.
Yeah.
It's kind of prepared me for the stand-up
Yeah.
world, I guess. But now I was telling a coworker that, and he said, "Oh, so what? It's basically just masturbation for you, video games?" It's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Why is that a bad thing? It's like, it's supposed to be like my escape and the stress relief. Yeah.
And
it's like-
you're saving socks by playing video
yeah,
games.
exactly. Oh,
It's
my
like, what
God.
happened to my towels?
I mean, there was a time in my life when I was 22. I was a theater actor, and I was just so busy that I didn't have time to play video games. And I thought, oh wow, I might not be playing video games anymore. I never thought that would happen. But like a year or two later, I got right back into it, and
Yeah.
it just never stops because they're just getting better and better.
Yeah.
The stories they're coming up with for some
Man.
of these games.
Like, and the thing that I miss about the older consoles was just the fun factor of it. A lot of the games I feel like were more fun, but the graphics alone on some of these games now, they're so mind blowing. It is unreal. Like I just saw like the new thing that they're doing for the RoboCop video game. Looks amazing.
Oh,
I'm just like, man, even if the game sucks, I'm probably gonna buy it. Just because, and then they have the Terminator coming out. And I'm just like, oh God, like they're gonna take all my money. Like this is gonna be ridiculous. Like I am gonna buy all the add-ons, and I always complain about it. It's like I just miss when you got everything that you needed when you bought the game initially. But all the add-ons, it's a great business marketing tool, because it keeps you.
Do you think
going.
it's gonna get to that point where it's like in Ready Player One, where you're
Oh,
literally
it already
in the
is,
world?
man. You've seen those VR stations where people are playing like
They
in a
got
group of
like the
people,
vest and
they're
everything,
there.
and-
Yes, I they're already there. It's just not
Very
mainstream.
rough.
You have the Oculuses now where you can play all of the games, like playing the Star Wars games on the Oculus.
Oh, Beat Saber.
Oh,
I mean,
dude, like even no, not even a Beat Saber. It's the Vader Immortal.
oh yeah, no,
Have you
my
played
buddy,
that?
yeah. Oh
Dude,
my god, I was so
okay.
happy. I
Oh
couldn't
my
believe I
God.
was in the world. Like, oh my god.
You have it, but the coolest thing was to realize how big Darth Vader is. It's like, dude, you're
Yeah.
like 6'4". Like,
Yeah.
this is. I am looking up, and you know what? This is intimidating.
Yeah, no.
I'm with the baddest dude in the galaxy, and he might kill me.
Yeah, because I'm excited about where it's going, but in a certain sense, I'm also scared too because I feel like why would you want to live real life when it gets good to that point? You
Well,
know, where I
that's-
can be a Jedi and live in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I'm never gonna want to go outside. I'm gonna,
Yeah, but people are going to be less tanned.
Yeah.
You know, so, that's where we've been moving towards. In like movies like Wall-E, they talk about that, right? So it's like, where's society headed? Like even just recently, just last month, I read an article where Japan put living tissue onto a robot. I was like, bro, we've seen this
Oh,
fucking
my
movie.
God.
What are you guys thinking? I was like, look, I know how to get out of it. I know how to fuck Skynet up, man. Just make sure you paid your water bill and get a hose. You know, it's like they're not gonna, you're not getting self-aware on my watch. But for the most part, it's just like, why are we not paying attention to these movies? Like even a movie as far back as Network, right, where it's about this news anchor who loses his shit and goes, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna. It's an iconic film and scene, but he addresses things that we're all dealing with, talking about famine, worldwide famine, talking about how the water's not safe to drink, the food's not safe to eat. We work these jobs that are going nowhere, and it still applies to now. The only thing that's gotten better is our technology.
yeah.
You know, so Albert Einstein, what's he talk about? He's like, I fear the age where our technology exceeds our intelligence, because then we live in an age of idiots. Then you have Mike Judge, makes Idiocracy, right? It's like, oh, what are you kids? It's like, you guys talking like a fag. It's like, you're talking smart. It was like, wow, like.
Yeah, who would have thought that'd be so prophetic, right?
Like how did Beavis and Butthead's creator get so smart about where we were going? You know,
He was on
it's
Joe
all
Rogan
there.
recently. Did
Yes,
you
he
listen to
was.
it and what his thought
I was
process
going to
was
listen
writing
to it
that
on the
movie?
way here, but I didn't want to flood myself too much. But like that's something I will be listening to in the next 24
because
hours.
he was pretty much spot on. He just asked himself, okay, if this trend keeps continuing and I put it on a graph, what is it going to lead to? And he was right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god,
You know,
it's
some people can see it, man. George Orwell, 1984 type
Yeah.
stuff. You know,
Oh,
he's
man.
on that level because he's just tapped into what's happening.
yeah. I read that book last year because I was doing this challenge. I did a challenge last year where I wanted to read 30 books in 1 year.
Oh, really?
And
Get there?
it's a lot. You know what? I fell short by I think 2 books because I ended up reading this one book, 1Q84 Haruki Murakami. It was really good, but it turned out to be like 900 pages, and I was
Oh.
like, dude, this is 3 books I'm spending. I was like, so it fucked up my goal. But I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna stop reading because it was a really good story,
Well,
really
still,
good
I mean,
book.
the fact that you even touched 20 is impressive.
Dude, it's a lot more books than people
Yeah.
realize. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going through because I broke it down, right? It's like for the first 6 months, I had to read 3 books a month
Mhm.
in order so that the last 6 months of the year would only be 2 books a month, and that's really
Yeah.
for me that's doable. I can take my time with that. So I reached that goal of the first 6 months. I was doing 3 a month. And then like around like 25, that's when I picked up that book 1Q84, and it just fucked me. It's like, oh god, this is just. But it was just such a good story.
Yeah.
I would recommend it to anyone.
Okay.
It's really quite interesting. But yeah, it kind of fucked my goal over because I created a vision board because I was doing a weekly vlog with my wife where every week we were setting goals for ourselves, and then we'd follow it through the week. Not just the goals, but just in general, like slice of life vlog.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, we'll do a wrap up. Hey, here's how it went. And
That's cool.
No, it was because one, like I said, I chase my passions. I try to find
Yeah.
a way to build my own thing. But 2 was it was a great way to make myself accountable to make sure during COVID that I wasn't just sitting on my ass and I was
Yes.
actually getting things done
Yes.
and building towards something. And it helped so much with that. And so part of that was one of my goals one week was to create a vision board. And I wanted to have goals, not just for my life, but let's be more specific. Okay, have goals for this year. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I had read 30 books in 1 year, have 3 revenue streams, learn 5 songs on the guitar, and there was one more. I can't remember what it is, but I ended up not reaching
I was
any of
gonna
them.
say.
I had like I mean, the revenue streams, it just took longer
Yeah.
than I realized. I'm working on it now, like I
Yeah.
said, with the Airbnb
So,
properties
how
and
is the
everything.
drug business? Is it good?
It's going fantastic,
That's
you know.
good, man. You
The
look like you're doing all right. You got,
first,
you got
yeah.
the setup is great, man.
Just give them the first one free, start them young,
Yeah.
you know. Hang out outside junior highs and say, hey,
Yeah, hey, exactly, man. You guys taking notes?
Yeah, I know, exactly. It's a good thing about being a no one. You can't get canceled, right? No,
No.
one's gonna... no, but like the guitar songs, I think I learned 2 songs, and
Yeah.
man, I've tried to learn guitar multiple times in my life, and it's just never taken. It's so fucking difficult.
It can be, especially if you're trying to teach yourself, because Mitch Hedberg has a great joke. Is like, I tried to learn how to play guitar, so I tried to teach myself. I never should have went to me. I was a terrible teacher.
Do you play any instruments?
I used to play the cello.
Oh, wow.
I played that for about 4 years, and then the bass guitar I taught myself how to play because the chords are super similar. And I did that for a little bit, and then I bought a cello about 5-6 years ago and tried to like reteach myself how to play, and I forgot how hard it was to write a song on a cello.
Damn.
So I was like writing stuff, and I was like, I'm getting through it, but I got through like half a page of like music sheet, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna play songs that I kind of know, and then it's in storage now.
Wow,
So,
you played the cello. You're classy, man.
I
You
mean,
read books. You play cello.
I mean,
You're a classy
I'm sorry. I apologize. I
guy.
mean, you know, like that's one thing that, that I wish that I did a little bit more. It's like I'm kind of like a jack of most trades. You know, like I have like a lot of stuff in my bag, but not great at any one of them. I need to start picking lanes as I'm getting further down the funnel of my life to be like, all right, what do I want to really kind of set my effort into mastering?
So you can actually get really
So I can actually
good
get
at
really
something.
good at it, right? So it's just like, can't ever make up my mind, man. It's you
Well,
know.
what's on that list that you're having a hard time
So you
trimming
know,
down?
I was like you said that you did theater. I did theater for a little bit, and I really I excelled at it in a short amount of time, and it was really cool. Came out with some really good projects. One of them was actually I played a prosecutor who was prosecuting Barbecue Becky and Permit Patty. It was called 911. What's your emergency? Where it's like we're putting them on the stand, and it was really good. It was a really in depth look at kind of society and how we were dealing with Karens at the time, and that kind of let me know, I was like, okay, I can do this and I can do it well. You know, something like songwriting and singing. That was part of the reason why I picked the cello back up, is because I wanted to write songs for myself, because when I try to work with other people, it always falls through.
Oh, the Filipino in you is strong,
Yeah,
my
I
friend.
mean, it is, man. You know, it's the border. You feel me? Do you build that? Because I build that. But it's just like, you know, going into acting, you know, part of the reason why I do stand up is to kind of help round me out a little bit more. So it's like, all right, when I go into an audition, what can you do? You can sing, you can dance, you can fight, you can tell a joke, you know, you can beat somebody up while you're telling a joke. You know, whatever it is, it's just, I'm just not tall, you know, but trying to figure out of those things what it is. Like, I like helping people, so maybe doing motivational speaking, but I want to have more to my credit instead of just being like, what do you do? I drive for FedEx, guys.
Yeah.
I'm successful at
Because
that.
there are people who make a living as a motivational speaker, but that's all they do. They
Yeah.
haven't really like done anything or achieved
you
anything.
know, and it's great. You know, I like to speak hope into some things. My problem is I get too far into reality, and then I'm just like,
Then it becomes
man, he's making me feel
depressing.
really bad about where I'm at in my life. You know, but I try to be positive with people. You know, like the fact that you do something with your wife, that's like, not a lot of people go into that, and I think that is a great relationship building experiment that turns into a habit that allows for you guys to be more communicative, right? Because where do we lack the know-how to better our society? And it's communicating. We see it online every day. People just miscommunicating their points, or getting taken out of context, or getting into an argument with somebody who just varies a little bit from their point, but might even be saying the same thing. You know, it's just learning how to do that, like, that's great. And then creating your vision board is like, okay, you said that, and I was immediately, when you said it, I was like, I should probably do that.
Well, they said it's like it's really supposed to help you achieve your goals, just visualizing that and creating it. But like I said, I was 0 for 4 with my goals. But you know what?
Did it, though.
But I progressed towards all of them. That's the thing. I
Exactly.
didn't just sit on my ass.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely helped in that. And the revenue stream thing is, happened. It's just taken longer than, I wanted to. Oh, you know what the fourth goal was? Is 10,000 YouTube subscribers.
Okay.
There you go.
And
yeah.
see, that's the hardest. I think that can be the hardest thing to build sometimes, because
It's so hard, dude.
well, it's the same thing with stand-up. With anything that you're doing, people go like, this star came out of nowhere. Like, no, this person was doing this for 10 years before you found out what their name was. Like, you don't get good immediately. You've done about 100 things to get to this point to where people think of you as brand new, because now you're finally on their radar, but you're not new to it. You've gone through your process. You know what you're doing. You've kind of streamlined all the things that were difficult in the beginning. So it's like building up the following. You have to also know what branding you're doing. And I think I like what you're doing with your podcast. I've watched a few of the episodes, and I think that you do a really good job of touching on different topics and really making sure that the viewer knows like what they're gonna get.
No, thanks, man.
You do a really good job. Like, that's why, like, when you hit me up and I watched a couple, I was like, dude, I would really like to be on the podcast.
No, I know you. This I say when I hit you up, and you told me you actually listened to a few episodes. Like, hey, that's great. That means you didn't just listen for 10 minutes and you're fuck it.
I watched them all the way through, and I love that you had Justin on, dude, because
Justin's a character, dude.
I love Justin. I remember the first time I met Justin was at Green and Grant.
Yeah, we're talking about Justin Creasy.
Creasy.
If you guys are a local Bay Area comic, he's great.
Yes, and that was a really good episode. So if you guys go watch that episode, he's very fun to listen to.
Yeah.
But he rolled up on his bike looking like he looks, and I was like, what is this guy doing up here, man? Like, I was kind of like taken aback. And he goes up, does a stand-up, and I was like, dude, you're fucking hilarious. So we start talking a little bit, and he leaves. And then I would see him periodically at other mics, and he would always be really nice. So it was like,
hey, super professional. He's on point. When he's on the mic, he does great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And just like, he's ended up being one of the people that, it's like, there's always people you wish you hung out with more. He is definitely on my list. I was like, dude, I wish I like hung out with you more, man. He's super fun to be around.
He's definitely multifaceted too. He's a deep thinker, There's
very.
Yes. So because I've done 2 shows with him, and each time I talk to him, I just knew right away, I gotta get this guy on the podcast.
Yes.
This guy is just too interesting.
He is.
And I think there's probably people out there that maybe don't appreciate him the way I think. But to me, like, this guy he's just too interesting a guy not to talk to. Not just because like a lot of telling him about his stand up, his whole persona, because it's all a very like curated experience, from the look to his material.
Yes.
I told him, you are like a walking, talking brand, man. You are built for merchandising.
Yes, and how important is that?
Yeah, he's already thought about it. And I remember we were talking about his material on swords, and I was like praising it. He said, he's like, that's not even all of it, man. That's just the tip of the iceberg. He goes, I love that.
Yeah, now he's selling swords for a company on his, that would be, and that's like the way to go. It's like, okay, he has this bit about it, and it's a great bit. Yeah. Like, I don't know how much you've seen of him.
I did 2 shows with him, and each time he went into swords pretty deep, like the power pose. But I was like, you can have a keychain like that. It's like, oh my god! It's like, I love his acting. I love but I think at the same time too, probably like people, I don't know if they're put off, but maybe they're a little bit intimidated maybe by the look. And when you see like how he's he's a different thinker, it's like, so, but I think that's fine. Cause at the end of the day, you really just have to be yourself, and the people who are going to fuck with you are going to fuck with you.
Yes.
And those who are not, well, oh well, I mean, but the last thing you'll want to do, because this is just from videography too, is the last thing you want to do is build an audience based off of not being yourself, about putting up something that's just a front.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to have to keep that up, and you're going to feel horrible. It's going to feel soul sucking. And
then trying to break off of that persona that people like, and they don't like you.
Yeah. And like, then you're not liking it.
I made this. Why don't you like me too? It's like, calm down.
No, but
like, it's a hard place to live.
No, it's like you've heard of the whole 1,000 true followers, true fans theory,
Yes.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like that's the way I really try to look at things. It's like that's why the goal was like 10,000 subscribers. It wasn't
Yeah.
100,000 or 1 million YouTube subscribers. It's just 10,000 because with 10,000, if I could get at least like 5% like true followers out of that 10,000, we're talking
Okay.
500 people.
Yeah,
Then we're
yeah,
building
yeah.
towards that 1,000 true followers. Like that's achievable to me. 1,000. That's not so bad. But if the goal is to get to like 1 million subscribers, it just is too monumental like task. You feel like,
Yeah.
God damn, I'm never gonna get there.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. You have to put incremental goals, because now you reach this point. So what's the next step?
Yeah.
So you're never going to put something that looks so daunting in front of you and go, I can never get there. But it's like, if you're chipping away every day at something, you're eventually going to get there. You just have to make sure that you make plateaus for those goals. You can put the 1 million up there, but make sure you're hitting all of your benchmarks.
Yeah.
And I think people get too overwhelmed with the bigger number, but it's like the way that you're talking about that true follower rule. It's the same thing with the rule of 10, right? It's like, are you familiar with the
No,
rule of 10?
what's the rule of 10?
So I go into it like this, right? It's the same way with dating as it is with promoting for a show. For every 100 girls or 100 flyers you hand out, 10 people are going to take them and really mean it,
yeah.
right? And then one might show up. So it's the rule of 10. So it's like
yeah,
basically
it makes a
getting
lot of
down,
sense. Definitely feels true.
so
For sure.
it's like, yeah, the rule, it's like you get out of those 10 girls that, end up like giving you their number out of the 100 that you've asked, then, you can vary it whether or not you find that one out of those 10.
Well, that's what makes these like modern dating apps so sweet for the single
Yeah,
people.
right.
I never got to experience any of
You
that.
don't trust me. Stay in your. You don't want to come. Don't come back into the wild, man. It is a jungle out there, and everybody is a cannibal. They just and the weirdest thing about online dating is that, and I find this is like nobody's really that interesting, but they try to sell themselves as being. It's like, just be honest. It's like, why do I have to be impressive? Nothing you're doing is impressing me. Like, you just, you're doing this and you don't have to be impressive, but neither should I. You just have to be honest. It's really, it's a weird place to live because people have these unrealistic expectations. And Justin's bit about dating online makes so much sense. And I'm not going to butcher it like it is, but it's like, we're both on here. There's a reason why we're on here. You're not special, and neither am I. We need to come to terms with that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, he does.
Be realistic.
His bit about that is good.
And it is such a great breakdown. Humorously, it's just a good lens to look through, right? It's like, if you're here, it's because you probably deserve to be. Like, all the good ones are taken because they're with good ones.
Yeah.
It's like. I was like, all right, yeah, I've got my damage, but that's also why I like being single, is because I don't have to answer to anybody. It's like it'd be nice to have a partner, in the most partner sense of the word, operative meaning that you work together on things, and somebody isn't just pushing their agenda the entire time, which is what you get in a lot of relationships because people have unrealistic expectations of others that they don't hold to themselves. So then you get resentments and you get all those things in the relationship, and you don't have the ability to communicate them in an effective way. Yeah. So it doesn't work, and the older that I get, and I'm going to be 40 soon, I was like, I would feel like being single was probably a win for me because I do whatever I want, so I don't have to, why aren't you back from the show yet? Because part of the show is me networking after the show. If I'm not hanging out with these guys and building a relationship, when I ask them for something, they're probably not going to want to give it to me. Because I wasn't that funny tonight, it's like, so just paying for the relationship is like, okay, you have to sacrifice other things. And I went to I was part of World Series of Comedy, and they do it's a national competition, and they do
the Paul Conyers one?
Yeah, Paul Conyers one. And they, during the finals week, they do forums, and they have panelists sit up and talk about good ways to go about being in the industry. And one guy was like, look, got to make a choice. He's like, if you're going to be a road comic, it's hard on a relationship. So you got to choose whether or not, excuse me, if you want to be in that relationship, because they'll say they're cool with it in the beginning, but when they're getting down into it, might not be, it's not going to work out. It's going to be stressful. So either build a club and maybe not do comedy anymore, or be a road comic and not be in a relationship. I was like, you got to kind of make those sacrifices, those choices.
Yeah. And I may be biased and I may be delusional about this, but I do feel like there definitely will be someone out there that will understand what you're trying to do and
Yes.
respect it, and you guys can work it,
Yes.
because that's what me and my wife do. But I also say it wasn't always that way. We
Yes.
had to grow into that, because when I started going out with my wife, she was 20 and I was 26.
Okay.
We met in the Philippines. I spent my 20s there and going to college. So obviously, you haven't been in the Philippines in a while or ever in a while, but
ever.
my maturity level over there is definitely a few years behind what it is over here. And I'm not trying to say Americans are mature. But in terms of maturity, Americans are years behind Europeans. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but so you can imagine what maturity is like in the Philippines,
Yeah.
right? So it's just there was a lot of growing pains, like with me and my wife, me being 26 and her 20. I'm not trying to say like it was horrible. It was actually great. You go through the honeymoon phase and all that, but the longer we were together, that's when the growing pains really started happening, because the age difference at that point.
Yeah.
When you're 26 and someone's 20, those 6 years is actually bigger than when you're 46 and someone's 40.
Yeah. It's like
You-
kind of like almost like the high school comparison.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where it's like
exactly.
senior versus
yeah.
a freshman.
So, it wasn't always like that between me and my wife, but the best thing we ever did is I came back to the States when I was 29, and we were long distance for 5 years. And she ended up moving to Singapore on her own and
Oh.
really have to be on her own. And that kind of forced her to really mature and grow up. And in the long distance forced us to really get our communication
Mhm.
together. So now eventually we got to the point where we're just very supportive of each other and what we want to do. And we do know in the back of our minds that, yes, it actually might lead to the demise of the relationship. Like right now, she's in the Philippines because she ended up getting a very high position in the new administration, presidential,
Oh, okay.
which wasn't planned, right?
What's that?
Yeah. So which changes things for us. I mean, we were
Yeah.
already going to be spending time there because of the Airbnb properties,
Yeah.
but now it's like that's just throwing a nuclear bomb on how much time
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to spend in the Philippines now, and how busy she's gonna be now.
It's
and
going to be nice because you're going to start doing comedy for the UN.
yeah, no. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna go great.
This doesn't translate to German. I'm sorry.
But it's like the one thing we always just agreed on is like we're not gonna get in each other's way in terms of reaching our full potential.
Yeah.
Right. The last thing I want her to do is hold herself back on my behalf. So who knows? In the long run, maybe what we're trying to do, we're both trying to pursue what we want. It might end up separating us, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you don't want to be holding yourself back for someone. You can't. 'Cause-
You guys are at least having the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's productive.
Yeah.
Because you guys are both pursuing the things that
Yeah.
you want.
we
You're not
acknowledge
being
it's a reality.
you're
Reality.
unencumbered.
Yeah, there's gonna be like difficulties in it.
Yeah.
But what am I supposed to tell her to do? Now say no to this once in a lifetime opportunity.
Exactly.
Sorry, I gotta pursue my stand up. I can't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like-
and that was the difficult thing about the last relationship I was in, was there were so many changes in such a short amount of time that it's hard to adjust to. So it's like we moved to end up being 3 times in less than a year that we moved.
Ooh.
So it's like, all right, this is difficult because we don't have anything stable right now. And then a 4th time was coming up to where she wanted to take this job in Hawaii, and it was partially for a mental health reason. And I was like, I would rather you take this job in Hawaii if it helps you with your mental health than have to write an obituary for you, about where things were going. And it was just, okay, I'm ready to do this at the expense of whatever it is that I'm doing. And she was like, well, what if we stay there? I was like, well, it'd be a little sad that I didn't get to keep doing this. At the same time, like I said, I'd rather you be alive than me be sitting here worrying about, doing 5 minutes telling dick jokes at a fucking bar on a Tuesday night, So it was like, it was the easier choice, and there would be less opportunity, but then there would also be an opportunity for me to create opportunity, and that was something that I would probably need to do. He came in and said, "Oh wow."
No, I mean honestly, that's just the way I really
Yeah.
try to look at it.
But
It's
that's
like, okay,
a really
you know what?
good view.
Now this
though.
is just an opportunity for me to get creative about how am I going to keep this going then if I'm going
Yeah.
to be gone for 6 months.
Yes.
It forces you to make something happen.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, then I'll just have to figure it out. I'm just not gonna stop. I won't let it stop me. But how old was this girl? I'm gonna have to ask.
She was actually 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
Her brother was more my age. Very, very, very driven, successful, professionally. Had masters. Uh, did she have? I think she worked and got her second master's actually. But she super smart, really, really good at what she did. I loved the work that she did. She worked with kids on the spectrum, and
Ooh, that's tough.
yeah, and it's like I have family that's on the spectrum, so it's like I know what the difficulties are on that, and I know what the benefits are of that because, it teaches you patience. You have to learn how to communicate in a way that somebody's going to understand, and you provide them with parameters. It's having a kid, and it teaches you how to look through a different lens of how to experience life, and how to deal with what difficulties are going to be thrown at you and what type of resilience people actually do have. So her dealing with that and being very good at what she did. It was also a very stressful work environment that as Zoom came in was requiring her to actually do more work because now she doesn't have to go and drive anywhere. She's actually being stuck at home, not being able to like get up and take care of things for herself, because she's dealing with a bigger caseload, which is, an unrealistic thing. So it was stressful. But like for her, the age difference for us, the things that we wanted, and, it's like, all right, this probably isn't going to be something that's going to work out. So coming into it is like, all right, yeah, realize these things and being able to communicate them was a necessary thing to kind of make the decisions we ended up making.
Yeah, the reason I ask about her age is I do have a feeling that I think if you find a woman who's closer to your age a little bit, they're probably going to be more understanding of what it is you're trying to, because they're going to be, when they have more life experience, they're going to be a little bit more secure in themselves too and what they've got going on. They're going to feel comfy with going out with someone like you who has this passion and this job that that makes them unavailable for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But when you are with her, you're giving her good quality time. You know, so, I just don't feel it's hopeless. I
No,
feel like you're out there. There's
It's
definitely
not.
someone.
I just don't want to put the energy into
Yeah,
it.
no, I get it. I get it. I can imagine.
It's like I would rather meet somebody organically now,
But that's
from
how
the show.
that's how it happens, though. Anyway,
and it's hard to do. Actually, the funny thing about she even knew who I was before because her
really?
ex had gone to a comedy show and I performed at,
Ah,
and the boyfriend at the time was like, "He's funny. We should go see him again."
She's like, "Hell
she's
yeah!"
Like, I'm about to.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So that was actually something that was kind of an interesting thing. So when she had seen me online, she was like, "Oh, I know who you are." So I was like, "All right, that's cool." And it was interesting because we ended up meeting up at the same place that she first saw me at. So
It's kind of the fantasy for comics out there.
yeah,
It's
right.
like,
It's like, oh, this is good. Oh, I wasn't terrible that night. Apparently, you wanted to spend more time with me. That's great. But yeah, I mean, like any relationship, period, doesn't matter with whether it's professional or romantic or just a friendship. They're difficult because as we get older, we discover that even though we do have time available, we're much more selective on how we spend that time.
Yeah.
So it's like either we're doing it because we have to recharge our battery so much from the work that we're doing, and then we come home to the home life and we have to recharge from that at work. It's like, what do you get out of that? And then you have to deal with the external world. It's like, oh, where do I get the time? And then for comics, it's like we're using the external world and our work life and our personal lives to contribute to whatever it is that we're doing on stage. So our life is a tool to further our passion.
It's a good way to think about it, actually. I'm not thinking, but it's a good way to express it. That's like what I was trying to tell Tony about, just leaning into who you are, because all your life experiences, everything,
everything.
It goes into your material.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's all I really talk about. It's just me. Like, I'm talking about abstract ideas. Okay, I can do that.
But it's still going to be from your perspective, based off of your experiences, that gives you that angle and your take on that abstract concept.
Exactly. Like sex, right? Sex at an older age is much more difficult. Like, I never had to worry about how soft somebody's mattress was. And now this is a problem at 37. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
It's like, I can't, my dick doesn't bend that way. Like, your mattress is too soft. No, you can't do that. I'm not tall enough. I can't stand up like that. Like, what the fuck? Like, this wasn't a problem when I was 18. I could fuck anywhere. The craziest place I ever actually had sex was was on top of the Oakland Museum.
What?
They have like a garden area, right?
Okay.
And me and my girlfriend at the time were like, we would do it hella different places. And
There you go. Now we're getting to it, folks. Here we go.
It was funny because like she's out there overlooking the street, and we're out like the corner or whatever, and this old couple is walking by behind us, and I'm just like, nigga, I'm just tapping it, right? And
Ooh,
I
that's
look
so
back.
exciting,
She's like,
dude.
"What are you looking at?" I was like, "Nothing," and I waved at the old people.
Oh
and
my God.
And they just kind of like did this little look and shuffled off. I was like, "Yeah, you guys probably used
Ooh,
to fuck in the back of
that's
cars,
like one of
dude."
those Japanese porn videos in the supermarket, dude.
Yeah,
There you
right?
go.
It was
You make it happen in
hilarious.
real life.
It was like, it's one of those things, right, where you could just do it anywhere. Now I'm just like, I want to be comfortable. I want to, if it's gonna take a long time, I'm probably not gonna want to finish. Like this, before that wasn't an issue. It's like now it's like there's so many things that go into. All right, the remote is leaning on my leg now, and I want to throw it across the room because it's bothering me. Like before, it's like, I don't care. The dog could lick my ass while I'm fucking. It wouldn't have been a problem. It was like, I'm gonna finish. It's actually helping. Don't stop. Kibbles and bits. But being older, it's like, oh my God, like this isn't even the motivation for me to want to hang out with somebody now. It's like, am I gonna be bothered by spending time with you? If the answer is no, then we could spend time together.
Yeah, because that's your existence that you're
Yeah.
giving to someone else.
Exactly. It's like I want my space to be clean, emotionally, mentally, and if
Yeah.
I'm not cleaning it myself, then I can't blame anybody else for that.
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to tell a good friend of mine. I don't want to name any names here because they do listen.
No, just-
I'll happily
No, no.
tell you afterwards. But because he tells me there's this one friend of his that he doesn't really enjoy hanging out with because this person's always, even when they're hanging out, they're always just talking about work or
Yeah.
doing work. And I just tell him, well, why the fuck are you even hanging out with him then, dude? It's like I tell him, because I'm older than him. Like one of the most important lessons I've learned is, I don't have to give people my time. If I'm like really being annoyed, I just won't do it. That's
Yeah.
life is too short to be putting yourself in situations that you really don't have to be in and you don't want to be in. Why do it then?
It's that simple.
Yeah, it's literally It's just life is too short to give up your existence on something like that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if he's too nice of a guy. Well, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
That's when I like him, and he's the one who always tells me I need to be more human.
His
so
manners
you-
are too good is
Yeah,
the
it's
problem.
like-
And he's sacrificing his soul at
No,
this
because
point.
like to me, it's like I just won't fuck with that. And
Yeah.
if it's a good friend, I'll tell him, "Hey, dude, what the fuck? Are we here to hang out, or are you just gonna be working? Because if you're just gonna be working, let's
Yeah,
just
I'm
not
gonna-
do this
Yeah,
then.
I'm just gonna go somewhere else and do something else.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not that big a deal.
Yeah,
Just call me
okay.
when you're free.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, okay, fine. Good for you. But I'm not gonna be fucking kicking it with you then.
Yeah.
If that's the case, It's like I can be
Right.
playing video games. I could be
Again,
doing something else.
That just comes down to communication.
Yeah.
Right. And all really that's all that really most things come down to is just like on stage, we're communicating our experience to people. And if we can't articulate it in a way that is understandable or relatable, they're not gonna like our material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it goes back to like that guy I mentioned who was just holding the mic sideways
Yes,
and just
right.
screaming into it.
It's
like,
good if it's a bit that works, but if
Uh-huh.
it doesn't, you have to tweak that.
No, but to his credit, he doesn't hold the mic anymore like that. He's not shouting
Yeah.
into the mic anymore. He still has the same energy, but he's slowed down enough where you could understand what
Yeah.
he's saying now. And that's all because of me. Is I was saying that.
Well, basically, he's saying I'm the best life coach and comedy coach in the world. Hear what I have to
No,
say.
because I know, like, I am no one to be given advice on anything. But it was like
Yes.
that one was just like, it was something so bad where I felt like just being a good person, I have to
You have
tell
to
him
say
this.
something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
have to, because otherwise he's just shooting himself in the foot every single time. You
Yeah.
know? And I was like
Is
cool
that a
enough
Filipino
with
thing? I do the same thing.
him. What? Shooting himself in the foot though, or what?
or like when I see somebody doing something, well, hey, this is probably great stuff, or here like this, but you might want to try this.
I don't think
This might
so,
be
man.
helpful.
I don't think so, because
Because I don't see a lot of comics helping other
No,
comics
no,
that way.
I don't
They
think
kind of like,
it's-
oh, that was terrible, and like, what are you doing? And then they talk about it and then they leave.
I don't know. It might be a theater thing, because like in
Okay.
theater and acting, you're so used to getting feedback all the
Yes,
time,
all the
right?
time. I'm
Yeah.
a feedback junkie. I don't
Yeah.
mind when somebody tells me these things.
It's like Filipinos, it's either they won't tell you anything at all, or as soon as they meet you, they're going to just tell you how fat you got, and they're
Yeah,
just going to come
right.
with that feedback, 100 miles per hour, the first time they
yeah,
meet
right.
you.
They're
But
like, oh, you're getting fat. Here, split.
yeah,
food.
yeah,
It's
Filipinos
like,
aren't
"You're
known,
feeding-
they aren't known for having tact and finesse
Oh, no,
with
no, no,
feedback,
no. Feelings. Who has feelings?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't necessarily think it's a Filipino thing, but it's just like that whole thing where if someone has something on their face, I'm gonna let them know, hey,
Yes.
dude, you got something on your face. Hey, like, I would love it if someone told me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people feel funny about doing that. It's
Like they don't
no.
want to stop, or maybe it's an embarrassing thing for them. They don't want to embarrass the
It's
person.
more
But by
embarrassing
not
to me.
saying it,
Yeah. Dude, one time I was in college. I was taking a final, and there's like these two hot girls in the class, and I noticed, oh man, these two hot girls are really scoping me out today, right? I get back, and I have a friend in the class with me, right? I get back to my car, I'm adjusting my rear view mirror. I have fucking like squares of toilet paper on my face because I
nice.
shaved that
Shaved and
morning.
you're cut, yes.
It's like my fucking friend didn't even tell me. See, I
Yeah.
thought these girls were checking me out, but they're just laughing at me.
Yeah.
Really, it's like, please tell me. You know, it's like
Man,
I would love it if you would tell me. It's more embarrassing to let that keep going on than
but people don't do that, man.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is, dude. I'm assuming you're the kind of person that would say something.
I usually do. You know what I mean? Like if somebody has something in their teeth or like whatever. But like but again, college story, right? Is I was pledging for the fraternity I'm in, and I was talking to these girls. We're in San Francisco doing like a scavenger hunt while we're pledging, and I'm talking to these two girls on the Muni, and it's like it's going good, it's cool, and they're engaging me, and like my boys are all laughing at me, right? And I was like, what the hell is you're doing? They're like, all right, so I finally, they finally get off, and they're like, all right, see you later, and it kind of ended a little awkwardly. And I'm like, dude, like, I was like, what the hell is your guys' problem? They're like, look at your hat. I was like, what? I was wearing a red hat. It had bird shit all over it. I was like, you guys are fucking assholes. They're like, yeah, we're talking to this guy. We're just waiting for it to drip on us.
Oh
I was
my
like, will we stop
God.
talking, please? I was like, dude, you guys couldn't have said anything.
Oh my
Like, now I know I
God.
can't trust you as brothers.
Oh, man.
Like, this is terrible.
I mean, it's hard enough to build up the confidence to go
Yeah.
up and talk to girls, and it's like,
And I'm doing it.
oh
I'm doing it,
man.
and it seemed like it was going well, and then it wasn't, and then it's like, oh, thanks, guys, that was really helpful.
I mean, obviously, I haven't like gone up to a girl, and I've been with my wife for 16 years. But I remember
Okay.
like every time I would go up to a girl, I just had to do it immediately and not think about what I'm gonna say at all. It's like I just gotta
When you
trust.
psych yourself out.
Yeah, I just gotta trust that I know what I'm doing and something good's gonna come out. Because anytime I thought about it, it just never went well. And it's just like I gotta trust, the charm's in there. I just gotta feel
Yeah.
comfy, and it's.
Do you remember the first time you asked a girl out, like how that went?
You know what? I think the first time I asked a girl out, I didn't even ask her out. I asked her to be my girlfriend immediately. It was one of those things where I already, like, the whispers, the girl liked me
Yeah.
and everything. So and then she called me, and I just didn't beat around the bush because I already knew I was in.
Oh, that's nice. That worked out for you.
Yeah. I've been chasing ass for as long as I can remember, I was like, but first time legitimately like asking a girl out, like on a date,
hmm
I think it probably was when I was 18 for the senior prom, because I asked the girl out I asked a girl to the prom that I really didn't know that well. And I thought it would be a great idea for us to go out before the prom just so we could be more comfy with
Yeah.
each other. That would be like the first time I asked the girl out, because in high school you end up like getting with girls, but you're not really
You
asking
ask
them
them out.
out.
It's
You're
like all
talking
these-
on the
yeah,
phone,
exactly,
and then
yeah.
eventually you're like, all right, you ask her to be your
You wanna be
girlfriend.
my girlfriend?
Yeah, right. So we're talking, right? You remember the talking?
Yeah,
You're just easy. Two
yeah.
people are just like talking
Which
in
is
quotation
all
marks.
that everybody does now, and they end up in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, we were just talking for the last 2 years.
Yeah. So, but I think that would be the first time that I officially asked the girl. What about you?
The first time I asked a girl out, I was terribly rejected, and I will never forget. It kind of actually shaped how I approached women. Actually, most of my entire life, and it was in middle school. I was like 12 at the time. Nobody ever like tells you how to do this stuff either. So I was like, me and my buddies were all sitting around at lunch, talking about like girls that we think are cute, and I mentioned one girl's name. Like, oh, you like her? I was like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Well, we're gonna go get a basketball because we play basketball every lunch.
Of course,
Like,
you're
we're gonna go- it's like-
Filipino. Huh?
Yeah, it was like, we're gonna go play basketball. I was like, you gonna meet us out there? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get a cookie. So I go to get a cookie. It used to be 25 cents. I don't know if they sell those anymore.
I doubt it.
And they were like huge. But it was funny because as I'm walking out with my cookie, in comes my friends, no basketball in hand, but they have this girl behind them. I'm like, oh man, it's like, you guys, like, dude, what the fuck? You got Ashley? Why the hell did you grab her? Like, they're like, all right, man. So tell her. He was like, yeah, you have something to tell me? I was like,
those fuckers.
I was like, I like you. Will you go out with me? And she was like, and then walked away, dude.
God.
And I was like, wow. I was like, you guys are the worst.
Yeah,
friends
they really
in the
set you up though,
world,
man. Like,
and I'll never forget it because like every time that I would get like somebody that I like kind of like was interested in, like out in a bar or whatever, like that would like flash back. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna hang out with my friends. You know, so like I would end up going for people that kind of liked me, you know, before I like went after them. But like what you're saying is like when I do go and talk to a girl, it's because I don't waste the time thinking about it. You know, if I see something, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go.
and it generally works out better.
And it works out much better. And as I've done comedy, like I've done it less because, you know, if I'm at a show, it's like, all right, then I'm already.
Yeah,
you're already
displaying the goods.
Oh my God, you were funny. Like, hey, your shirt is so tight, we can see your balls. You know, like, but you know, it's just like one of those things where it's like now I don't have to do it as much, but I also still get that ping of anxiety where it's like, all right, well, do I even want to do this? Like, I'm looking to see how much are they drinking, because if they're drinking a lot, I'm not going to talk to them.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's the maturity and the wisdom coming in.
It's like, do I want to have to carry this person anywhere? No. It's like, no, I don't like carrying myself anywhere.
See, that's where, and this is going to be the last thing because we're running well over an hour and a half already. I know it feels like the first version of my podcast used to just go on for however long it takes. You know, we go on for like 2.5, 3 hours, just like Joe Rogan. But I'm trying to make these more digestible. More digestible, more consistent. I'm not Joe Rogan. No one's gonna fuck with me for 3 hours.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
You might get really big, right? And then people go back and watch the older episodes.
Hey, once I get to that point, you know, if I'm like at that level, these are gonna turn into 3-hour podcasts. Honestly,
and see, this is where you go too. Is I used to do this thing called the creeper challenge, right? Where, you know, people will creep through and you'll accidentally like somebody's picture from like 2012, right? I was like, I made it a challenge. Like, go back and like somebody's picture for the very first picture that they posted and don't say anything. Just see what happens.
That's a good experiment.
You know, and it was funny because when I posted that, people started going to my page and liking all of my old stuff. I was like, no, somebody else's, but I don't, you know, I'll take the likes.
Yeah, that's a great experiment.
So I might run that one back actually, just because it's just funny to see how people do.
Yeah, what would people usually do?
Most of I had one dude like 120 something posts of mine. So that was kind of cool. And then I messaged him and was like, hey bro, I haven't talked to you like in 4 years. I'm glad you're still alive. And you know, we ended up hanging out, but doing that on other people's pages, and then they see that that's like the challenge, they're like, all right, you fucking weirdo, like, I see what you're doing here. You know, but then they would go and do it to me. So it's like, it's just kind of an interesting experiment because we feel weird when somebody that we know or kind of know likes something old, but we posted it, it's up there. What's wrong with liking something from, you know, so long ago, unless the dude is creepy or the chick is creepy? And that is a possibility. Because we all become, everybody that has social media is a voyeur. You know, we all like looking at the stuff.
Well, that's what's so fun about it, honestly.
Right? It's like they don't know that I'm looking at it. But if you were able to see if somebody was looking at your page, would you want to know? You know what I mean?
I guess it depends on who that person is, honestly.
You know, so it's like, all right, like everybody's looking. Everybody's looking. You're guilty of it.
Yeah, if it's a girl I had a crush on back in high school, definitely I want to know.
Yes. It was like, all right, I'm just going to go look at their stories. I'm going to go, no, you can't even do that now. All right. You can see who's looking at your stories.
I don't know. Do you remember around, I think it was 2012, I don't know if it was Facebook, but it was connected to Facebook. There was this thing that came out that was called Banging with Friends.
No.
And it was basically,
I missed that boat.
No, it takes it takes all of your Facebook friends, your friends list, and you just check there who you would want to bang. And then if they do the same thing and it matches up, and then you guys will get a notification. And it's like,
that's
yeah. And I remember just joking around. I mean, I didn't. I was already with my wife. We weren't married yet, but I didn't. But I remember just like making a post about it. It's like, hey, I just installed Bang with Friends. You know, you guys should download it and see who's gonna win the lottery. It's like,
dude, do you tell that joke on stage?
No,
you need to.
Yeah,
that is really good, and you can flesh it out.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
I will. Yeah,
like. Dude, that's a really good premise, and you can play with.
But this is a real thing that was going on, man.
But that's what I'm saying is.
You didn't even know about it.
You can bring it back.
You didn't know about it.
No.
Oh wow, yeah. This is when I was working in video games and I found out about it, and it's like,
damn, that is pretty fucking funny.
It's like I thought, man, that is a great idea. I was like, but I don't know if anyone ever. I never had any stories of anyone actually having any like success with it or any hookers. But I just thought it was a fantastic idea.
That is hilarious, dude. Yeah. And then it's like you have like incognito mode where it's just like nobody can publicly see it. You know, it's like, man, but that is really interesting. I think that during the pandemic, that probably would have boomed. It was like, I can't go into any other circle. You know, it was like, I might get COVID. I'm just gonna stay in my friend's circle. Hey, what's the fuck? And this is without asking. You just like say, if it happens.
All right, Chris, let's wrap it up. So we have a show coming up on July 16th, but this is probably going to come out afterwards. So where can people find out about your upcoming dates?
So if you follow me on Instagram, soy sauce, butter, and rice, all one word.
That's an interesting handle. Soy sauce, butter, and rice.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you grow up poor, you gotta eat something. I'm not into dairy, so when my grandma would make mac and cheese, I was the only one not eating it. So we have soy sauce, butter, and rice. You can eat that. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do.
Well, butter's dairy too, though. Isn't it?
I mean, kind of. I mean, I don't know. I don't use a lot of it, but it's good. But yeah, you can find me on there. I'm not really on Facebook as much. So I think Instagram is the best. Same thing for TikTok is soy sauce, butter, and rice. They're both linked. So if you go on either one, I post my dates, mostly my stories. You can find me on there and see what's up with my Elmo costume.
Yeah. One thing I saw that you did that was very interesting. I don't know if it's you producing the show, but you guys did a show in a penthouse?
So we did have a show in a penthouse. It kind of worked out to where we weren't able to get some of the licensing because it's a private event. So what we're planning to do is get the licensing to do like alcohol sales and whatnot there. But
so this is your show.
So yes, it is my show and another person who did comedy for a little while actually and knows some of the comics that we're booking. It was something that he approached me about. So we're going to be putting that up pretty soon. We just had to postpone this one because we wanted to make sure not getting any fines and whatnot from the city because then you can't do the events. And it's not a slap on the wrist. You know what I'm saying? It's
I can imagine.
Expensive.
Yeah.
So
this is in San Jose?
It's actually in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
It's going to be 701 Sutter. It's in a penthouse. They actually have multiple locations, but this one it's really nice.
Yeah, that looked really interesting when I saw you post about that.
It was cool, man. It's a really nice spot. I've been to some events there. It's a nice place.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. Check out Soy Sauce, Butter, and Rice to see when the next penthouse show is going to be up. Well, I guess it would be the first one because this one was delayed.
Yes, it would be. Yes, this one's delayed. Yeah, this one's delayed. So check out, for the next one.
So same comics. I'm assuming.
I'll all that stuff will be on my page and in my bio.
All right, there you go, folks. Thanks for watching and listening. Hey guys, so thanks for tuning into the podcast, and a big thanks again to the fine folks at Sonity for letting us record the podcast here and for hooking us up with their delicious boba milk tea drinks. My wife Chris and I review boba milk tea spots all over the Bay Area. Believe me when I say that Sonity is definitely one of the best boba milk tea shops around. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at SAN as in Nancy, and as in Nancy again, A19, that's sana.na19 on Instagram. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure to hit that follow/subscribe button and make sure to give us a 5-star rating to give us some algorithm love. Okay? Thanks for listening.